Hello and welcome to Tochnyi Weekly, the show that gets behind the headlines to discuss the full-scale Russian invasion of Ukraine. Please, if you could, dear audience, like the stream. Please subscribe to Tochnyi to get future updates, and please do spread the word about all the great research and interviews that our colleagues are doing over here. So we have an excellent show for you today. First, I will present the news. That will be followed by German Aid to Ukraine's report. And finally, of course, we are very pleased to welcome our special guest today, Federico Bassari. And we'll have a discussion about counter drone warfare. So, we're very pleased to have him. He's a resident fellow at the Center for European Policy Analysis, and he specializes in CUAS. So that's countering unmanned aerial systems. So, thanks again, everyone, for tuning in. We're definitely looking forward to the interview. So I'll just jump right into the news and, present that. These are the main news items of the week relating to Russia's invasion of Ukraine as of October 20th, 2024. We'll start, as usual, with operational news. Ukraine's main intelligence directorate, HUR, confirmed that a Russian Tu-134 military transport aircraft was destroyed. The announcement was made on their official Telegram channel and reported by Ukrinform. The incident took place on the night of October 13th when the Tu-134, part of the 117th Military Transport Aviation Regiment of the Russian Armed Forces, was engulfed in flames at the Orenburg II military airfield. This type of aircraft, originally from the Soviet era, is often used to transport high-ranking officials of Russia's Ministry of Defense. A Ukrainian drone strike on October 19th caused a fire at the Kremeny EL microelectronics plant in Bryansk, Russia, as reported by both Russian and Ukrainian media. This facility is one of Russia's largest producers of microelectronics and manufactures key components for military equipment, including air defense systems and missiles. It is located over 100 kilometers from Ukraine's Sumy region, and the plant had been attacked previously in August of 2023. The Russian Defense Ministry claimed it intercepted 13 drones over Bryansk, Belgorod, and Rostov overnight, with additional drones reportedly downed later in the morning. Local residents shared footage showing explosions and smoke near the factory. The governor confirmed a fire at a non-residential building after the drone attack, which was extinguished by emergency services, and no injuries were reported. He later mentioned a second attack targeted another building, but there were no casualties. Ukraine has not yet officially commented on the strike. On October 19th, Ukraine's military intelligence reported that Russian Major Dmitry Pervucha was killed after his car exploded in the center of Russian-occupied Luhansk. The incident occurred on October 18th when a UAZ Patriot vehicle exploded with the major inside, according to the statement by HUR. Pervucha, who previously served in the 273rd Intelligence Center of the Russian Armed Forces in Novosibirsk, had been involved in war crimes against Ukraine. In the occupied regions, he held the position of Chief of Staff for Military Service and Security of Military Service, a role connected to the Russian occupation authorities. Following the explosion, the Russian Investigative Committee launched an inquiry revealing that an unnamed man was killed and a woman in a nearby car was injured. Although HUR labeled Pervucha as a war criminal and emphasized that crimes against Ukraine face repercussions, they did not take direct responsibility for the attack. Up next, we'll move to the topic of aid and economics. The U.S. Department of Defense announced an additional $425 million in security aid to Ukraine, according to the Pentagon's official website. This is the 67th aid package provided by the Biden administration since August 2021. The new Presidential Drawdown Authority package aims to address Ukraine's most immediate defense needs, including air defense capabilities, air-to-ground weapons, munitions for rocket systems and artillery, armored vehicles, and anti-tank weapons. Specifically, the package will provide additional munitions for NASAMS, including RIM-7 missiles, Stinger anti-aircraft missiles, HIMARS ammunition, air-to-ground munitions, and artillery rounds in both 155 and 105 mm calibers. Other key components include TOW missiles, Javelin, and AT-4 anti-armor systems, as well as HMMWVs, small arms, grenades, demolitions equipment, and spare parts, alongside training and transportation services. The next section I'm just going to call European aid, and there's a lot of it. Denmark has pledged a 350 million USD military assistance package to Ukraine, marking their 21st military aid package, which includes new equipment acquisitions, financial support for industrial resources, and supplies from Danish defense stockpiles. Also, Norway has announced a new aid package of 250 million euros to help Ukraine strengthen their energy infrastructure, address damage from Russian attacks, and prepare for winter months. A significant part of the aid includes power supply equipment procured through an international tender won by Bergen Engines, which will help increase Ukraine's energy capacity under the Nonsen support program. The Norwegian government is involved in the reconstruction of power stations in several Ukrainian cities, including Dnipro, Odessa, Kharkiv, Zaporizhzhia, and Lviv. The aid package covers a wide variety of energy projects, from providing electricity to cities to supplying home insulation materials, ensuring that Ukrainians can remain in their homes even during power outages. The Netherlands has announced plans to purchase a set of drones for Ukraine valued at 42.6 million euros, according to a statement from their Ministry of Defense. The procurement is the Netherlands' first contribution to the International Drone Coalition, an initiative led by Latvia and the United Kingdom to supply Ukraine with drones to bolster its defense against Russian aggression. Half of the funds from the Dutch package are directed towards domestic industry. The purchase from Delta Quad is part of the broader funding effort, although specific details about the types of drones and numbers supplied, as well as delivery schedules, are being kept confidential. The Netherlands also ordered an additional 6 DITA self-propelled howitzers from the Czech Republic for Ukraine, according to a statement from the Dutch Ministry of Defense. The DITA self-propelled artillery system is manufactured by the Czech company Excalibur Army and uses 155mm shells and has a range of around 39 kilometers. The system is based on the Czechoslovakian Dana VZ-77 howitzers, which are built on the chassis of a Tatra truck. One of the key advantages of the DITA system is its high level of automation, allowing it to operate with only 2 crew members, 1 driver and 1 commander, while carrying 40 rounds of ammunition. The system features modern onboard control systems, which enable quick deployment and mobility, as well as cross-country capability. It is a fully autonomous superstructure, and that enhances its operational efficiency, and the cabin provides protection for the crew, meeting STANAG Level 1 safety standards. Normally I wouldn't really include this next item because there's no specifics, but this is such a rare thing I thought I should mention it. During the NATO defense ministers meeting in Brussels, Japan's defense minister pledged that Japan will provide additional vehicles from its self-defense forces to support Ukraine, according to reports from NHK. Nakatani reaffirmed Japan's ongoing commitment and outlined plans for further supplies of military vehicles. While specific details about the type of vehicles were not disclosed, previous reports indicate Japan sent around 100 vehicles previously, including military trucks, to Ukraine. Nakatani also criticized Russia's growing military ties with China and North Korea during the meeting. Australia's latest military aid package to Ukraine will include a shipment of aging M1A1 Abrams tanks, marking a significant addition to its ongoing support. This package is valued at $245 million and brings Australia's total military assistance to Ukraine since the start of the war to about $1.3 billion. Australia is set to retire these older M1A1 Abrams tanks as it begins receiving the newer M1A2 models. Some of the older tanks will need remediation before being sent to Ukraine, although others might be deployed directly for immediate use or spare parts. France has successfully tested a new kamikaze drone developed domestically and plans to deliver it to Ukraine and French forces in the coming weeks, according to the French Defense Minister Sébastien Lecornu. The drone was developed under the Colibri program, which was launched in May 2022 by the French Defense Innovation Agency and the Defense Procurement Agency. The program aimed to create low-cost remote-controlled kamikaze drones capable of targeting light vehicles and equipment up to 5 kilometers away. The prototype, designed by Nextair and based on the civilian Delair Tech UX-11 model, has a wingspan of 1.1 meters and weighs around 1.5 kilograms. The civilian version can reach altitudes of up to 2 kilometers and fly at speeds of 60 kilometers per hour for around 1 hour. although the military version will likely have shorter flight times due to the carried payload. Also, Le Cornu stated that France is unlikely to meet its target of providing €3 billion in military aid to Ukraine this year. He explained to lawmakers that while the initial political commitment for 2024 was to reach that mark, the actual aid is expected to be around €2 billion. This shortfall comes as France grapples with economic challenges, including a projected deficit of 6% of their GDP for 2024. France has continued to offer critical support to Ukraine. Recently, it was announced that France will deliver Dassault Aviation Mirage 2005F fighter jets to Ukraine in early 2025, and €300 million from the interest on frozen Russian assets will be used to purchase artillery ammunition, Caesar self-propelled howitzers, and fuel for Ukrainian military units. So that's all the aid for this week. As is typical during these big conferences, there's a lot of promises, a lot of talk. Some of it's stuff they already promised that they're promising again, just kind of because they feel obligated to say something at the conference. So it's a bit confusing. I tried to lay out the big packages. Up next is just the economy stuff. The US has imposed new sanctions on China-based companies involved in producing drones that Russia is using in Ukraine. These sanctions, announced by the U.S. Treasury Department, are the first instance where Chinese firms have been sanctioned for directly developing and manufacturing complete weapon systems in partnership with Russian companies. The targeted companies are linked to the production of Russia's Garpia series long-range attack drones, which are being deployed in Ukraine. These sanctions target three entities, two in China, Xiamen Limbach Aircraft Engine Co. and Red Lepus Vector Industry Shenzhen Co., as well as one in Russia, Limited Liability Trading House Vector. Russian citizen Artem Mikhailovich was also sanctioned for his direct involvement. The U.S. State Department also announced a reward of up to $10 million for information leading to the identification of foreign individuals or entities involved in election interference ahead of the upcoming presidential election. In this statement, they highlighted Russian media organization Rybar LLC, accusing it of using social media to create divisions in U.S. society, fuel partisan conflicts, and incite racial discord and violence. According to the State Department, Rybar operated a social media channel on the platform X called Texas vs. USA, where it exploited the contentious issue of undocumented immigration at the Texas border to manipulate public opinion. The organization was also accused of using hashtags like Hold the Line and Stand with Texas to disseminate pro-Russian propaganda. The U.S. government is particularly interested in information about 9 individuals allegedly involved in Rybar's efforts to influence U.S. elections. Rybar's co-founder Mikhail Zvinchuk is a former member of Russia's special forces and an ex-defense ministry employee, and has been under EU sanctions since 2023. Recently, he opened a school in Serbia aimed at teaching information warfare techniques, which he claims are based on studying Western strategies. He described the initiative as a broader effort to spread new pro-Russian propaganda in Western countries. And Rybar comes up when there are information blackouts in Ukraine on Tochnyi because we often refer to him talking about lost territories, for example, in the recent Kursk offensive, as some kind of information because we don't have anything from the Ukrainian side during those times. The UK has imposed a new and extensive round of sanctions targeting Russia's shadow fleet of oil tankers, which are used to transport Russian oil and evade international restrictions. According to European Pravda, these sanctions now cover 18 additional oil tankers and 4 LNG carriers, making it the largest set of sanctions imposed by the UK on Russian maritime operations to date. The measures bring the total number of sanctioned Russian oil tankers to 43, preventing them from accessing UK ports and British maritime services. The UK government estimates that the oil tankers targeted by the latest sanctions have transported around $4.9 billion worth of oil in the past year. Russia's largest shipping company, Sovcomflot, has reportedly been trying to circumvent restrictions by renaming and selling off vessels. However, the new sanctions aim to close these loopholes by targeting more of Sovcomflot's fleet. This follows a joint investigation by Politico and the group Source Material, which exposed at least 9 oil spills from Russia's shadow fleet since 2021. The incidents occurred in various locations, including Thailand, Vietnam, Italy, and Mexico. The spills are often linked to the discharge of oil and water mixtures known as sludge generated during ship operations. In one instance, the tanker left behind an oil slick 47 kilometers long off the coast of Italy. Many of these vessels also turn off their tracking transponders to avoid detection, which means there are likely other spills that were never found. Russia is currently experiencing the worst labor shortage since records began, as reported by the Central Bank of Russia. The third quarter of 2024 saw staffing levels reach an all-time low, with businesses in the sectors of investment goods and consumer products being hit the hardest. Despite the labor crisis, many companies are still cautiously planning to expand their workforces in the upcoming quarter. The labor crisis has been exacerbated by an outflow of migrant workers, which has caused severe staffing shortages in sectors like hospitality and defense manufacturing. Russian defense companies in particular are facing an urgent need for tens of thousands of new employees to meet new production demands. The International Monetary Fund has projected that Ukraine will face a significant electricity shortage of 3 to 4 gigawatts during the winter, as outlined by the IMF's fifth review concerning the country. The shortfall is attributed to missile attacks and seasonal factors, which pose ongoing risks to Ukraine's energy infrastructure. To address the looming deficit, Ukrainian authorities have set ambitious new goals. They aim to build new power facilities to generate an additional 1 gigawatt of electricity and plan to increase electricity imports from the European Union by around 3 gigawatts. The IMF also recently lowered its growth prediction for the Ukrainian economy from around 6% to around 2%. As far as I could tell, they changed this estimate based on purely on the fact that the war is continuing into the year 2025. So I don't know. I found that very odd that that's how they kind of calculated this. But yeah, they changed their estimate, and the reason cited, I'm certainly not a macroeconomist, but the reason cited in the media was that they see the war continuing. So that's it for economy stuff. Up next is international relations. On October 17th, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky arrived at the European Union summit, where he will present his victory plan to EU leaders. The Lithuanian president mentioned that much of what the plan addresses are areas where the EU remains uncertain or they don't have a consensus. In contrast, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz indicated that some of his decisions regarding Ukraine would remain unchanged regardless of the plan presented. Zelensky's visit to Brussels includes scheduled meetings at NATO headquarters, the European Parliament, and the European Council. On October 15th, the EU energy ministers from 27 countries gathered in Luxembourg to discuss the future of Russian natural gas imports, as a key transit agreement between Moscow and Kyiv is set to expire on December 31st. The meeting will focus on the region's readiness for winter and the ongoing efforts to maintain energy security, which have driven up prices and strained the EU's energy systems. Negotiations to replace Russian gas transit flows are ongoing, but no agreement has been reached, and sources suggest a final decision may come at the last minute or even in early 2025. One option under consideration is to replace Russian gas supplies with those from Azerbaijan. However, logistical and political challenges remain, as Azerbaijan's limited reserves require an exchange with Russia, which could be controversial. Another proposal is for Azerbaijan's state energy company, SOCAR, to take over Gazprom's role by selling gas to Europe or facilitating its transit through Ukraine. And I reported on this briefly a couple months ago, that Azerbaijan sort of confirmed that this was happening, and then Europe said it wasn't. So I don't know, it seems like it's still on the table at least. To maintain efficiency, about 10 to 11 billion cubic meters of gas would be needed to ensure sufficient flow through Ukraine's pipeline system. A lower volume would require additional gas injections, which would make the operation economically not viable. While EU gas storage is currently full, gas transported through Ukraine accounts for less than 5% of the total supply to Europe. However, countries like Slovakia and Austria face potential price increases if new sources are introduced, which would create political challenges in those countries. Hungary is also negotiating with Gazprom for additional gas purchases beyond 2025, with plans to maximize the capacity of the Turk Stream pipeline to increase their fuel supply. On Wednesday, the foreign ministers of Ukraine, Sweden, Denmark, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Norway, Finland, and Iceland visited Ukraine's Odessa region to discuss key issues related to Ukraine's defense and security. According to Ola Kieper, the head of the Regional Military Administration, the talks focused on strengthening assistance to Ukraine, defending ports and energy infrastructure, and ensuring accountability for Russian war crimes. The discussion also included plans to bolster Ukraine's defense capabilities, attract new investments in the defense industry, and increase new sanctions pressures on Russia. During their visit, the ministers paid tribute to fallen Ukrainian soldiers, visited wounded military personnel in the hospital, and met with major agricultural exporters in the region. Ukraine successfully carried out the 58th prisoner exchange with Russia, bringing 95 Ukrainian defenders home. President Zelensky shared the news, noting that the returning soldiers defended key regions, including Mariupol, Azovstal, and areas across Donetsk, Luhansk, Kharkiv, Kyiv, Chernihiv, and Kherson. Notably, 48 Ukrainian defenders had been convicted by Russian courts, with 28 of them sentenced to long prison terms and 20 facing life imprisonment. The released individuals include National Guardsmen, sailors, soldiers, border guards, and members of the defense forces. The latest swap brings the total number of Ukrainians freed from Russian captivity to 3,767. The coordination headquarters, which oversees exchanges, expressed gratitude to the UAE for assisting the organization with the particular swap. Finally, the biggest story this week. According to South Korean intelligence, North Korea has dispatched approximately 12,000 troops, including special forces, to support Russia in their war against Ukraine. The report is based on information from the National Intelligence Service and indicates that North Korea has already begun deploying 4 brigades and special forces units, although the specifics of this deployment are unclear. A video shared by Militarny allegedly shows North Korean soldiers training in Russia. In the footage, individuals in Russian military uniforms who appear to be North Korean are seen on a Russian military base. The video was filmed in Sergeyivka, a village located in the Primorsky Krai region, about 230 kilometers from the North Korean border. The area is home to the 127th Motor Rifle Division, which is part of Russia's Eastern Military District. Ukraine's Defense Intelligence Chief confirmed that the first group of 2,600 North Korean soldiers is expected to be deployed to the Kursk region, where they will bolster Russian forces attempting to push back Ukrainian troops. These North Korean units are reportedly expected to use Russian equipment and ammunition, although there are unconfirmed reports that North Korea has also supplied its own self-propelled artillery systems. Sources also indicate that one of the battalions, consisting of about 3,000 North Korean troops, will join the Russian 11th Guards Air Assault Brigade, which is currently active in the Kursk sector. So this is one of those times where there's definitely something happening, but the actual information to noise ratio is a bit skewed, and we don't really have a lot of specific information. We have, I'd say, 2 main pieces of information. The first is this satellite imagery of military transport ships moving from North Korea to Siberia, and the statement from the intelligence agency in South Korea that this happened. So I think, we can probably take that pretty much as gospel. And then we have this video that was mentioned that seems to show people talking in what Yonhap, which is the South Korean agency, which reported on this in the first place, identified as North Korean accents. I'm certainly not a Korean linguist, but I'm going to take their word for it. And I know the patch guys looked at their patches and such in the Russian patches and basically said, yeah, these are Siberian units, like the geography makes sense in terms of what units would be over there and stuff. So, there's nothing in the video that seems glaringly fake. We definitely have footage of transport from North Korea to Russia. So, it seems like at least that much is definitely happening. We have no confirmation yet of North Korean soldiers in occupied Ukraine or in the Kursk region as of yet. We'll certainly keep you updated if there are any developments on that. So that's it for the news for this week. We can now go to the next segment.
Yeah, and that would be me. Hello, guys. As always, I will now present the most important news from Germany regarding Ukraine. We start with an update on the overall bilateral assistance provided by Germany to Ukraine and its citizens in Ukraine and in Germany. Between the 28th of August and the 30th of September, Germany provided another 2.42 billion euros in assistance, bringing the total provided since the start of the full-scale invasion by Russia to 37 billion and 320 million euros. Please let it be silent. Yeah, silent video, perfect. On Thursday, the German government published the latest deliveries of military assistance to Ukraine. It's a very long list this time, so I just give you a summary. In the past 4 weeks, Germany delivered the following assistance to Ukraine: 1 IRIS-T SLM air defense system, 2 IRIS-T SLS launchers, 30 Vector UAVs, 6 Panzerwitze 2000 self-propelled artillery systems, 8 Leopard 1F5 main battle tanks, 20 Marder 1A3 IFVs, 4 FFG MREPs, 1 bridge-laying tank Biber, 2 Weissand 1MC mine-clearing tanks, 30,000 Matadors, which are anti-tank weapons, 580 rifles of 3 different types, 3,000 SFP9 pistols, 25,000 40mm ammunition for automatic grenade launchers, ammunition for the Leopard 1F5 and Leopard 2A6 main battle tanks, ammunition for the Marder 1F3 IFVs, 24,000 155 shells, Iris TSL missiles, RIM 7 Sea Sparrow missiles, 150,000 chest seals, and 75,000 tourniquets. The German government also pledged to deliver another 67,000 40mm ammunition for automatic grenade launchers, 361 Songbird UAVs, Sidewinder missiles, and winter clothing. So yeah, like I said, just a summary, but still a very, very nice list. Moving on to the latest item of this week. On Friday, I published an article about the fact that the German government is now officially considering investing in the Ukrainian defense industry and financing Ukrainian-made armaments, which would be a big step forward in the right direction, in my opinion. There are so far no more details available, but I definitely tell you more as soon as I get some additional info on that. Yeah, and that's it for my news segment. Back to you, Joseph.